is it spinning in circles? It's not telling me as if I'm live. I'm just gonna. It's not telling me if we're live. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic Podcast. I'm really excited about my guest today. Today we have with us Suzanne Ross. She joins us for the first time interview to explore unconditional love and how it may be the key to opening interdimensional portals. We'll dive deep into the science of vortices and sacred sites, high frequency spiraling energy, Kundalini activation, and the 13 Vortex / 13 chakra system. Suzanne explains how collective intention and focused love frequency can open energetic gateways, and how Lemurian and Atlantean 5D consciousness may be reemerging in our current timeline. A little bit more about my guest. Suzanne Ross has dedicated her life to an in-depth exploration of consciousness, spirituality, and extraterrestrial contact. Her deep immersion into spiritual practices and her extraordinary paranormal experiences have enhanced her psychic awareness and ability to tune into quantum consciousness. Her great admiration for leading luminaries and dedication to the spiritual community inspire her to host retreats that connect spiritual leaders with spiritual seekers. Suzanne is a well-known event producer, inspirational author, and motivational speaker, intuitive guide, and media creator. She is also the founder and host of the Sedona Ascension Retreat and San Diego Transcendence Retreat. She also is the author of the Up series, Wake Up, Rise Up, and Lighten Up. She's also the creator of Spy, TV network emerging science and spirituality. Wow, that's awesome. And her personal website, Suzanne Ross Transcendence, she offers a series of intuitive sessions, immersive meditations, and certification courses. Suzanne's deepest desire is to inspire and empower humanity to realize their true divinity. And with all that said, I'd like to give her a big warm welcome to the show for the first time. Suzanne, thank you so much for coming on. How are you?
Thanks for having me, Rob. I'm doing great. I really appreciate the invitation to be on your amazing show and, exploring all my favorite topics, from ascension to transcendence to ancient civilizations and portals.
How did you, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, how did you get involved in this? Like, how did this all start for you?
So my father had a missing time experience before I was even born. When he was just 18 years old, him and some buddies were driving down a road one night after dinner, and this light was following them. It was in front of them. It was out in the field. So my father pulled over, and him and his buddy got out to check it out. Next thing they know, they're all sitting in the car. Then they see this white light race across the field, merge with a larger orange light, and take off into space. They realized they had lost 4 hours of time, and the next morning my dad woke up to realize that he had a triangular-shaped gray object under his wrist. Growing up, he called it his alien chip. So I grew up in an environment where my father totally believed there was life in the universe, that there were UFOs and aliens visiting us and sometimes taking us. So that's how it all began.
That's cool. That's cool. And then what motivated you to, did you have your own experiences? Did you ever anything? Because it said in the bio that you had like paranormal stuff happen. Like, what happened in your life?
Yeah. So I was born in Mount Shasta. I was born at Shasta County Hospital.
You were born in Mount Shasta? That's cool. I was
born at Shasta County Hospital. My parents lived in a town called Redding. Actually, it's a town called Anderson, just outside of Mount Shasta. And we would spend the weekends hiking in Mount Shasta, going out on Lake Shasta. And all of this, presence of being in the spiraling, powerful vortex of Shasta definitely allowed us to have paranormal experiences. And as a child, I remember hiking in the woods with my sister and feeling as if we were being watched, surrounded by fairies in the branches, trolls peeking out from behind trunks of trees. I thought the fairies lived in the branches and the trolls lived in the trunks of the trees. And so, very capable of seeing interdimensionally as a kid, like so many kids are. I had a lot of invisible friends. They all had names. So, this went on until I was about 6 or 7 years old. Another thing that would happen to me during that period of time is that at night, I would feel the presence of these three energetic, glowing blue beings come into my room, stand on either side of my bed and the foot of my bed, and I would feel as if they were transmitting some kind of blue light. And it made me giggle. It was very joyful and loving, and I always looked forward to my blue being friends coming to visit me.
Wow, I love that. That's amazing. Like, and what do you think now that you look back on it? What do you think it was? Like, that now that you have deeper spiritual awareness?
I believe that there is such a thing as these blue beings, and I've talked to many people. Now, as a kid, I called them Caspers because Casper the ghost was my only reference. But I believe that our galactic brothers and sisters are able to join us. Maybe they're Pleiadian, maybe they're sent from other star systems of our origin, possibly. But I believe that they're sent here. They come here as interdimensional beings, so they can pop into the dimension at will, and then they can transmit. They can transmit like healing, high vibrational frequency, energy in order to accelerate us, maybe to advance our gifts and abilities. Maybe it's for healing. I don't know, but I've heard of other people who've had the same experience with these blue beings.
I love that. I love that. I love that you've had that experience, And what I wanted to start off with today was with the, like, in your new book, you talk about how unconditional love may be the key to opening interdimensional portals. Can you talk about that a little bit? I find that really interesting.
Thank you for that. So I believe that there's many different ways you can open portals, and it kind of reminds me of Aleister Crowley, right? He had this method for opening portals, and these amazing things happened that he documented in his books, and people witnessed it. And, so yeah, you could engage in some forms of magic to open it, but love is the most powerful force in the universe. And I believe when a collective of people get together and they engage in a meditative process intentionally designed to invite interdimensional beings to come forward and to be with us. And you might think of a CE5 experience, like that's how the CE5s are designed. It's all about tuning into your heart, maybe going into heart-brain coherence, right? And then calling upon your galactic brothers and sisters, interdimensional beings. This could be aliens, Bigfoot, God knows, right? But you're going to call upon them with love, and you're going to invite in the loving, benevolent beings to come through. And, we know that that's a very powerful method for opening portals, and amazing magical things happen. Crafts show up, orbs show up. So yes, I do believe that love can open, and the more, the better. The more people that are opening their heart and inviting these beings in, the more powerful it is. It exponentially increases with the number of people present.
Yeah, that's amazing. So when we're talking about the science behind portals and vortices, what are we really thinking about here? Like, what would you say it is?
So I lived in Sedona for 10 years, and I do my annual event there. But Sedona has vortexes, right? And what creates those? So because I started taking people on spiritual journeys into the Red Rocks as an independent contractor for Sedona Mystical Tours, I had to learn the science behind how the vortexes in Sedona are created. And there's an amazing gentleman, Benjamin Lonetree, who has a website, SedonaAnomalies.com. He's an engineer who came to Sedona to debunk the vortexes. He ended up measuring them and verifying them. And so on his computer screens, you can actually see spinning electromagnetic energy throughout Sedona. Various vortexes have different types of velocity. They spin in different directions. It's caused by the spinning iron core at Earth's center. Okay, and this spinning magnetic energy comes up through what's called lava tubes, or sometimes volcanic shafts. Now, Sedona has a crystalline basement. So there's a lot of electricity, piezoelectric effect caused by crystals. So now you have the iron magnetic, the crystal electric, this energy spiraling up through these lava shafts, explodes onto the surface in a spiraling fashion. Now it's called a female if it's spinning counterclockwise, a male if it's spinning clockwise. But people who go to these vortex sites, and Sedona's just one, I think there may be 13. Okay. When you go there, you can feel the effects of this spiraling energy. It's uplifting, it's elevating. You can have a transcendent experience. You can expand your consciousness, right? And then it's a UFO hotspot. Many believe it's a Bigfoot hotspot. You have paranormal places like Bradshaw Ranch. So yeah, these vortex sites around the world.
Wow. And did you say the fact that the piezoelectricity that's being generated in Sedona, do you think that that's what makes it like a UFO hotspot?
I do, because I believe that you have the vortex that's being created on the surface of the planet, but then you have the cosmos projecting down spiraling energy as well. So I believe that, this vortex opens portals, and then, there's a response of interdimensional crafts and beings that can come through it from the cosmos. So I think it's both, vortex is coming up from the earth, and also vortex energy, coming down from the cosmos.
Do you think that there might be a big Stargate, or do you think that in Sedona or around that area?
Definitely. I love that you brought up stargates, right? I mean, we are aware that there are stargates at sacred sites around the world. And Rob, I really believe that Sedona is a sacred site. And these sacred sites, the key is that they are stargates. And that's why temple sites are built there. I mean, we know Egypt, the Mayan temples, Angkor Wat in Cambodia, these sacred sites around the world. Mount Shasta, right, is a powerful vortex site. And almost, if you study some of these sites, you'll almost always find that area has a high concentration of magnetic energy, whether it's red rock, iron ore, and crystal. These sites usually have a dense concentration of crystal.
That's fascinating. And then how does collective intention amplify energetic openings, would you say? Would it be because of the collective energy build up, and then that leaves that magnifies intention towards opening these portals or vortices or something like that?
Yeah, I definitely believe that. So I believe that if we go into this meditative state and we set an intention to connect with these interdimensional beings, you might think of your galactic brothers and sisters, what have you, that they are capable of hearing our intentions. They can respond to our call because they're telepathic. They're part of the greater mind, right? Like, I'm a big fan of the Law of One books. And of course, this, right? And Carla Rucker is channeling Group Raw, right? And Group Raw says, we can read your mind because we're part of the greater mind. And so we're not eavesdropping on you. We just share your mind. So I think we can telepathically communicate, through intention, through, love transmission, and these interdimensional beings respond.
Yeah. Now, what is CSF practice, and how does that help activate Kundalini in your practice?
So this is not something that I came up with, but it has been scientifically validated, even by this well-known doctor whose name isn't coming to me. And then I do believe that also Bruce Lipton was using this technique as well, but it's cerebral spinal fluid, CSF. and it runs up and down our spine. And I believe the cerebral spinal fluid has been referred to in a lot of sacred books, like the Christed oil and, these different references to it. The Kundalini energy that surges up the spine. I think it could be the divine essence that flows through our being. And it's an electromagnetic energy because we are electromagnetic beings. So many believe that this cerebral spinal fluid is seated right at the base of our spine in the root chakra, one of these spiraling vortexes within our own beings. And that through different Kundalini practices, different types of, chakra meditations, you can ignite this cerebral spinal fluid to surge up your spine. There's a really cool process also for igniting this cerebral spinal fluid, and it's like a 5 or 6 step process where you hold your breath, you squeeze your sphincter, and then all of a sudden you let out your breath, and this energy surges up your spine, and it comes out your third eye. It opens your third eye, right? And so I've done that at conferences before. And people come up after and they go, oh my God, like I felt the energy surge up my spine and I felt my third eye open. And so it's a powerful process.
But the spine is interesting to me. And I know we're talking about more positive stuff here, but I know you're into, I know you've talked about abductions and, all kinds of stuff. So I want to kind of ask you about this. Like when I had an entity attachment, I had a bad entity attachment. It was really like it bothered me for a while. What I noticed is the entity would like nest in my spine, or it would always go to my back, like in the middle of my spine. Like, what do you think is up with that? Why do entities like I know we can only speculate, right? But like, do you think that has to do with the cerebral spinal fluid, or why do you think entities would be attracted to the spine area? Do you think it has something to do with that?
That's a really good question. I don't know that I know the answer to that, but I definitely do believe in attachments. And I know a gal in Sedona who was doing entity removal. And I know, like for myself, I had a session with her and I had an entity around the base of my spine. And as a result, I had, issues with elimination. I have issues with like my bladder, urinary tract issues. And she attributed it to this entity that was, somehow wrapped around my lower spine. So I don't think it's uncommon. I'm not sure why these entities would wrap around the spine. And I don't know if it has to do with the cerebral spinal fluid, but, entity removal. Did you have an entity removal, Rob?
I had a couple. I had a bunch. Yeah. It took me a while to get rid of it, but it finally went away,
Yeah, that's a real thing. It's amazing. My mom, and she has passed on, but for a while she had a personality attached to her. And it was giving her, like, she had 3 personalities, herself and these 2 other beings. And we had an entity removal of one of the beings who was causing a lot of problems because she was like this foul-mouthed, aggressive personality that my mother would like switch into. Like if she got triggered by something suddenly, she would be this other, like she'd have a split personality, in other words. But this entity removal removed that entity, and my mother was totally sweet, loving, kind person, and that personality never showed up again. So I think some of these things like schizophrenia, multiple personality, I think they're attachments.
Yeah, I had Jerry Marzinski. He talks about that too. What I wanted to go back to was we talked a little bit about the CSF. Now, how does that tie into the chakras? And I believe we have 13 chakras instead of 7. Would that be like because we have chakras in the hands and the feet and stuff like that too?
So what this really comes to is is theosophy. So you've heard of the theosophical traditions. Madame Blavatsky and then Alice Bailey took over from there. They both wrote many books. Dr. Joshua David Stone wrote about theosophy. Well, according to theosophy, we have 7 chakras within our body, but then we have 5 secret chakras. They also refer to them as rays. So you have your 7 rays, and then you have your 5 secret rays, and then you have your 13th gateway ray. And so I believe that, these chakras have everything to do with the 12 personalities of the one infinite creator, and then the 13th in the center. So I believe they are directly correlated with the signs of the zodiac. 12 signs of the zodiac, 12 chakras, 12 rays, and then you have the 13th ray in the center. Now, we know that people talk about the 13th sign being Ophiuchus. I believe that that is the 12 signs spiraling into the center through the 13th gateway, in the same way that we have the 7 chakras or 7 rays, the 5 secret rays, and the 13th gateway ray. And then the CSF is a cerebral spinal fluid that flows up your spine, going through these gateways. They really are like energy vortexes, gateways up the spine, and they can get blocked for different reasons. And I really have done years and years of chakra clearing meditations in order to help clear people's chakras, help people get those chakras spinning. They're crystal wheels, right? And you get them spinning so that you can, remove the debris off of them so this fluid can flow up and down your spine. It's for your health and well-being, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally.
I love that. Yeah. And then when it comes to Atlantis and Lemuria, do you believe they're returning symbolically or like energetically or physically, or like, what do you feel about that?
So I believe it is the return of Lemuria and Atlantis on our planet, because they were very advanced civilizations. And, they sunk into the ocean, and maybe there were survivors, Lemurian survivors. We talk about this inner earth city in Mount Shasta, Talos, where you may have the ancient Lemurians who survived living. There could be ancient Atlanteans in the inner earth. Sometimes they talk about Hyperboreans in the inner earth. For the meantime, until the consciousness on the surface of the planet elevates to a higher dimensional status, the new earth emerges with the awakened consciousnesses at a 5th dimensional level, so that then, we can reignite that advanced civilization where you had Lemuria as spiritual, Atlantis as technological, the left and right brain of Mother Gaia is what I really believe that Lemuria and Atlantis were all about. And so I think we're coming back into a more advanced state. We're on an accelerated evolution path where we're becoming more and more and more advanced as we move into this golden age, right? And so I do believe it's the return of the crystal cities of the ancient past, just like Lemuria and Atlantis were.
Do you think Sedona could be like a beacon point for Atlanta and Lemuria, or Mount Shasta or somewhere like that?
I believe all of the sacred sites around the world are exactly that. That was an excellent word to use, a beacon point, right? It attracts the energy from the cosmos. It pulls the energy up from the inner earth. It is a point on the Earth's grid where this energy is concentrated or focalized, you could say. I believe the temple sites on planet Earth are going to activate. They're going to come back online. It just requires us to activate the matrix for global ascension. And these temple sites will be reactivated around the world.
Wow, I love that. Yeah. And would you say high frequency love is measurable? Is it something we can measure?
What can be measured is a coherent state of being. And this is a very harmonious state of being. Now, heart math recognized that you could measure coherence by heart variability. And coherence is a harmonic state of being at peace, of feeling in love, of having a sense of oneness with all that is, right? So I believe the closest thing that we could come to measuring love would be measuring our state of coherence. And you can do that by measuring heart variability.
I love that. That's interesting. And then do you believe that technology can replicate spiritual vortex energy, or is that where do you think we're headed with like AI and like the things that it can do compared to like what we can do naturally? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that, spirituality and technology can harmonize and live happily together, coexisting, right? Because let's face it, it's all source consciousness. Everything is of and from the divine source, right? So, everything is of and from God consciousness. So I believe that spirituality and technology, can coexist peacefully and also complement one another. Now, we can use AI in very positive ways. It's like having an intelligent companion, right? We can look up information, we can use it like as a resource, right? Now, using technology for spirituality, I mean, really kind of what comes up for me with that would maybe be using technology to play binaural beats, that puts us in an elevated spiritual state. Using maybe technology to create sound frequency that could open portals, right? So, yeah, sure.
Yeah. And then one of the last questions I have for you is what do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions about portals? What do you had to get?
Well, I mean, because you're opening portals, any interdimensional beings could come through them, right? And so I think it's really important to ensure that you're opening portals with the highest intention, definitely moving into the high vibrational frequency of love and calling upon benevolent beings. So I wouldn't say that it would be a misconception that malevolent beings could come through portals, right? But I think it's more the intention around, how we go about doing that.
Yeah, I agree. Now, we still have some time. I can take some audience questions. So if you guys have any questions for Suzanne, put them in the chat now. And we do got some questions here. But what I wanted to ask you, and I want to ask you about the Sedona retreat. But I'll ask a few audience questions first here. This is from Eric, and he says, "What happens when sites under dark control are activated with other grid points? Would you feel like, or do you think that happens? Like, do you think like dark forces control some of these grid points sometimes?"
I believe they could, sure. And so my belief is that there is going to be a bifurcation. And my friend Laura Eisenhower has talked a lot about this. And I've also seen in J.J. Hurtak's Keys of Enoch, where what you have is you have the brotherhoods of light, the children of light, the light grids that are activated by love, creating this emergence of this new earth, spiritualized. But, that leaves a soulless earth under the control of the brotherhoods of darkness, right? And so, and when we say darkness, I just think it's another agenda. Like, we're very familiar with the idea of the New World Order, right? And this New World Order, if you go to the World Economic Federation, website, it says, the plays a video, you'll own nothing and be happy. They'll
Yeah.
own everything and be happier. However, there is maybe a percentage of a population that might not mind, renting everything or having, this big brother sort of society. So it could be that this sort of new world order, under the control of, say, like the World Economic Federation, could take off as one parallel reality and moving into the dark ages, because we're going around this wheel, golden age, dark age, ascension, and then, golden age descension, dark age ascension. It's that wheel, that 26,000 year cycle of the yugas that we go through. So, there'll be, a certain population that moves on to this descension cycle and back into a dark age. It's the third dimension of duality, right? But many people are getting off the wheel and moving into a higher dimensional plane during this golden age for a new earth, that, these temple sites are activated with the high vibrational frequency of love and light.
Yeah. And I love that you said that you're friends with Laura Eisenhower. I'm good friends with Laura as well. She comes on my show a lot and stuff like that. So yeah, I know Laura pretty well. I like her. Yeah. Okay. So so tell us a little bit about your retreat that's coming up, the Sedona, Arizona retreat. And yeah, it sounds interesting.
Thank you for asking about that. Yeah. Annually, I do a Sedona Ascension retreat during the spring equinox. This year it takes place March 20th through 22nd at the Sedona Performing Arts Center. It features speakers like William Henry, Rizwan Virk, Caroline Corey, Danny Sheehan. We're definitely going to be focusing on opening cosmic portals. Daryl Anka will be channeling Bashar. Jimmy Church, a live Fade to Black show. We have Yannicka Owenis from the Wisdom from North podcast flying in from Norway to host a guest panel. We also have musicians. Every day we take a break in the middle of the day to go on outdoor journeys into Sedona's Red Rock Vortex sites, and also to do interactive workshops. And then at night, we have sky watches. So on Friday night, we have filmmakers Ron Meyer and Alan McGargle, who made the film Mysteries of Bradshaw Ranch, as well as The High Strangeness of Bigfoot. They use a CE6 protocol to open portals. And so we'll be doing that on Friday night. And then on Saturday night, people can sign up for Melinda Leslie's UFO Skywatch. And she uses night vision goggles and laser lights. So there's so much to do during our 3-day Sedona Ascension Retreat. Go to SedonaAscensionRetreats.com and use the coupon code Open Portals.
That's awesome. And then one thing I want to ask you about before we go is your books. Like, so you've written a trilogy, the Wake Up, Rise Up, and Lighten Up series. Tell us a little bit about your books and how people can get them and like what they can expect from them.
Thank you for asking that. So it's a 30-day evolution of consciousness with 3 10-day books. So Wake Up is a 10-day life lessons workshop. Rise Up is a 10-day ascension adventure. And Lighten Up is a 10-day spiritual retreat. So it's for the body, mind, and spirit. In the first book, it's sort of a workbook around understanding what life lessons you came here to learn, and then going through a process of applying those lessons to your life today so you can advance and move on to, more advanced lessons. So you can, in that way, evolve. And then Rise Up is an ascension adventure to sacred sites around the world. And the reader is an adventurer. And as we go into these sacred sites, we learn about these ancient civilizations, what they knew, what they practiced, their different belief systems. And so it's really fascinating. We bring in a lot of science in that book as well to understand how the universe works. And then lastly, Lighten Up is a 10-day spiritual retreat. So since I've been hosting these retreats in Sedona and now in San Diego for over 10 years, I have a ton of footage of all the presenters who's presented at all of these retreats over the years. So it's really going to be virtual, and it's going to be on a site called My Vibes. It's a virtual interactive book experience. So you'll be virtually attending 10 days of a spiritual retreat.
That is so cool. I don't think anybody's ever done anything like that. Like, that is really cool. Like, yeah, I love that. Like, yeah, and how can people do that? Like, when will that be out? And like, when can people get it and stuff? Like,
Thank you. Yeah, I'm developing the site now. So if you go to it, it's going to be under construction, but the site is myvibes.media. And then it's not just going to be my virtual interactive book experience on there, but I'm going to invite other people to bring their books to life by having them be a virtual experience on this website.
wow, that's awesome. Yeah, and yeah, wow, this was an amazing show. Yeah, and do you want to tell people how they can find you? And thank you so much. And yeah, my moderator Jason put your website in the chat, Sedona Retreats, but then you also have your own personal website as well, right?
Thank you. Yeah, SuzanneRossTranscendence.com.
Wow. Yeah. Well, this was amazing. Thank you so much, Suzanne, and I'd love to have you back. And yeah, and thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thank you, Rob. Mwah. Namaste.
Good night, everyone. I'll see you guys in a little bit. I'll be live.